Yes, hello everybody, and welcome back again to the Dynasty Hot Seat. It's the only Dynasty show out there that is a certified inferno. And today, look who we have, right? It's number one on the Hall of Fame. It's Dynasty Hot Seat royalty, King Murph himself, top of the charts. He's back on the show. He's going to talk us through some hints and tips. He's going to talk us through a few lineups, and we're going to have an absolutely great time as always. So here we go. Let's hit that intro music and let's get started on the show. Yes, I've been looking forward to this one for a while, Burp, I have to say. You're back on the show. Obviously, you've been on the show almost every week for the last couple of months because you've been sitting right there up at the very, very top of the Hall of Fame. Never thrown. I mean, it is fantastic to have you back on the show. How you doing, mate?
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's great to be back, and I appreciate the free advertising. It's definitely the best. It's definitely the best social media advertising I've ever invested in.
Yeah, well, and no one's coming for that crown, so it's going to stay there for a while yet. I think you could even extend your lead. Who knows with this video? So this is going to be a great show, guys. Merciful show. So you can go ahead and like this video already because it's not going to disappoint. I'm that sure of it. So let's see if you can even extend his lead up to the top of that leaderboard. And Murph, for those who don't know, obviously you can see your Twitter handle there at Murph_NFL. Do you want to tell everyone what are you up to these days? Where can they find you online?
Yeah, this is a strange season for me, Mag. So this is like season 6 of creating fantasy content, and I actually made a decision this season to write less content than ever before. So probably the only person who's taken a step back in the season. Because for the last 3 years, I've written pretty much non-stop. I've written 3 books. I've written, in the region of about 530 articles. And I'm just like, I just got to the point. I was like, I just need a season where I can just enjoy it a little bit, and still putting content out. I'm still doing 3-4 pods a week, and still doing guest appearances, but trying to keep it more audio this season, and just get a bit refreshed because the off seasons where I do a ton of writing, digesting the season. That really from sort of February, March time is when everything kicks into hyper gear for your planning of the season. The season itself is, at this point, you're just reactive. You can be proactive with some trades and looking ahead with season schedules. But to be honest, if you've tanked your draft, or the only way you'll be proactive now is if you're not making the playoffs and you're thinking next season already.
Yeah.
But obviously in a redraft perspective, that's not the case. If your team's done, you're done. You just kind of switch off, and then all your team's competitive. So I'm looking forward to distilling everything and getting to work and making sure we crush, because this season's been tough. Like in 22 years I've been playing fantasy football, I've never seen a waiver wire so
bare,
just
right?
lacking of any genuine match winners. I mean, Donta Foreman, might be one of the only ones that we see, and there's still weeks to go, so it could change. But maybe if you picked up a couple of guys early, but there hasn't been that many. There hasn't been that many studs that have come through and absolutely torn it up this year. We've just had so many injuries. I mean, I did my rankings this week, and I've got in my top 83 wide receivers, I've got 21 that are questionable. And that's not even including the 30, 40 guys that are already out. I feel like we're gearing up. I joked to someone the other day. I feel like Todd Gurley's going to appear somewhere. And just be a league winner, but then it looks like it might be David Johnson with his tweet the other day.
It is absolutely crazy. I know we have injuries every year, but this is the first year I've had to start players, and I even try to convince myself that starting people like Ben Skoranek, I'm like, I feel pretty good about that. Right? Because I'm looking at the other team, I'm like, oh, they don't have anyone. They've got this blank, or someone who's on a bye week that has to play. It's crazy this year, right?
I played Nick Westbrook-Akine in the lineup last week.
No.
I had no one else. I had no one else. I looked at the waiver wire. It was Nick Westbrook-Akine or oh god, I can't even remember. It was like literally Harrison Bryant. I think that was the choice.
Yeah.
And I was like,
A good
well,
choice.
okay. Yeah, that one worked out. But yeah, I mean, there's so many. I mean, it's so bad when you're thinking about um, all these players that you're starting. You know, you're looking at the depth chart of you're looking at the third wide receiver on the Ravens, and you're thinking, I mean, I don't pass the ball much, but hey, he might actually be on the field.
Yeah. Yeah, you're crossing your fingers and hoping. And yeah, we'll have a
So
look
bad.
later on at some of our lineups and see how much crossing the fingers that we need to do. You've definitely, well, spoiler, you've definitely got one position you're crossing your fingers for. We'll get to that later on.
Yeah.
But we'll start off with just some hints and tips that you got, Murph, for people playing Dynasty. It doesn't matter kind of what stage of the season. If you want some overall general tips or tips for this part of the season, you got anything for our listeners?
Yeah, I think what you've got to do now is you've got to be brutally honest at this point of the season where you are, right? You've got to do a full assessment of your squad. You got to look at where you are. You've got to look at every squad that you're playing fixture wise from now until the end of week 14.
Yes.
There's 4 weeks. And you literally got to get a pen and paper. You've just got to sit there and you've got to work out how many W's you're going to get. Yes, there's factors, there's injuries, there's all sorts of situations that can change. Absolutely. But the bottom line is you need to work out where's your path to the playoffs. If you feel like you've got a 50% or better chance of going for the playoffs, you either need to do what you need to get in, and that's making a big trade or making a significant trade, because this period, the next 4 weeks of the season, single best time of the dynasty season to trade, because you've got people now that are at that realization of, I just need picks for next season, and actually you can buy pretty cheap. I feel this is a good buy low period on certain players because teams just want to blow up rosters and just get picks. So actually, you can go and acquire players for picks, and people love a third round pick more than they should. A third round pick is such a low value. But you mentioned Ben Skowronek, right, or Van Jefferson. You can probably pick them up for a late third round pick right now. I'm probably doing it just to if you're in that need of, I need a flex player that's going to come in and potentially do something. I'm coughing that up because it's not a great loss of what you're going to get. So I think you can buy some players. I'd be targeting maybe some of those older players that people don't really want to be handcuffed to, like the Hopkins of the world. Here's someone that if you can go and acquire him if you think you're going to make the playoffs and he's the difference maker, go ahead and do that. Absolutely. The other kind of dynasty trades I really love right now is where you get bench guys off your roster that are kind of, you're not really starting them, and they're of that slightly older profile, and you trade with someone in a very similar position to you. So if you're 6-4 and you've got someone that's 5-5 and you're both looking to get better to drive yourself up, you could look at a really, really good trade where you're getting a marquee piece. So like a Jalen Waddle, for example, or maybe if it's going to be someone on the older end, maybe looking at someone like a Devontae Adams. And there's a bit of quarterbacks fucked and there's a bit of risk there for what reason. You try and acquire him and you part with 3 players that are going to improve their roster. And that might be a quarterback, a running back, and a wide receiver. And you make them better, you make yourself better. And I think if you can try and get yourself, if you're at that sort of 6-4, 7-3 stage, I'd be looking to go and sign a big name off of a team that's that sort of 5-5, 6-4. That they need bodies to get in, and you need the marquee piece to take you over the top and make you competitive. And I think that's a really big piece that gets overlooked. And it's not easy. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, well, that's a really easy thing to do, because the circumstances have to line up and it has to be right. And people at 5-5 will still think they've got a great chance and they're better with their best player. But I would also make the argument that if you're 5-5 and you think about total points, if you've got Tyreek Hill in your roster and he's going to put you up 18 points a game, right? But actually trading him off the roster and you get 3 replacement starters that net you 30 points a game. Your net 12 points a game up. That could be the difference between you getting in the playoffs or not. And I think that's the way you've got to be thinking is, Can I make my team better? Can I make everything about my side
Yeah.
better? And obviously, you've got to work out the subtractions as well. So if it's 1 or 2 points per game difference, it's not worth it. But if you work out that actually Tyreek and your two sort of flex players are contributing 24 points, and you're going to bring in 48 points, and that 24-point gap every week, that's the difference. That's going to be where you give yourself every chance. And
Yeah.
also, it's much more stable to rely on 3 solid contributors. The one-star player. One-star player has a blank week, gets hurt, gets injured,
Yeah.
gets in the concussion protocol. You lose. You can't afford any more losses. Stabilize that risk by bringing in 3 players who all just are going to be solid contributors. And then even if one of those goes down, you're not replacing a marquee piece. You're replacing a replacement level player that you might get off the waiver wire, or you might be able to do another trade to get someone of a similar value. And it's much easier for sustainability and replaceability of your max
Yeah.
PF.
Yeah, that is great. Like great advice. It's sometimes hard to kind of like detach yourself like from the player sometimes, right? And he kind of goes like, no, but I need to have Tyreek Hill because it's Tyreek Hill, and no, obviously I won't accept. I mean, I don't think I would accept this, but like David Montgomery and DeAndre Hopkins or something like together they'll
Yeah,
score more points than Tyreek Hill, right? But
exactly.
it just sounds awful whenever you say it out loud. Like you can't. Yeah, so it's sometimes hard to detach yourself from that player because you watch them every week and you see how good they are, but you know sometimes good players is weird. Sometimes really good players don't actually translate into lots of points. Sometimes players can have really good weeks and actually don't score that many points, but they played really well in the game. So it's a bit of a weird one. And yeah, this game's all about points. And one thing I would actually add to that as well, something I've really noticed probably from like the last year, if you're wanting to make those kind of trades, it's sometimes better to not to send a trade offer out, but actually to send like a direct message and like talk to people and kind of talk your way through it. Because you can send that trade out and it's just declined. But if you like send things like, "Hey, I'm looking to buy this player," I find you get a lot more success that way. I don't know if you find the same thing.
100%. I find that in the leagues, I mean, listen, your home leagues, it's pretty easy because you would
Yeah,
naturally do that. But in the dynasty
yeah,
leagues where you're perhaps you know each other and you're on what I call online friends, right?
yeah,
And I play in a lot of these leagues, so it's pretty standard where you just reach out and you just say, hey, I'm interested in this player. This is kind of what I'm thinking at this point.
hmm
So I'd be really keen just to see if we can work something out. And you know what? If you can't, you can't. And the other thing is player values and people's values of players could just be really squiffy, and it might be a non-starter. But at least you've had the combo. At least you're never going to sit there and think, hey, if I just changed that trade that I sent over, it might have been a different result. You could just move
yeah,
on to your next target. And what I like to do this point in the season, I talked about that pen and paper. I'm
mhm,
looking at every team in the league. I'm basically scoring each section of their roster out of 10. So
mhm.
giving a score to their QBs out of 10, their wide receivers out of 10. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm not doing this for every league. I'm doing this for the ones I really care about because I
Yeah,
play in too many leagues. But
mhm,
for the leagues I care about, or the ones I'm in real contention for in particular,
mhm.
I'm doing this. I'm scoring the rest of the league, especially the ones I'm going to be playing, and then the ones I'm going to be potentially up against. And I do this for 2 reasons. One, because I'm getting a better assessment of where I'm going to be and what I'm facing going forward, and working out their buys. And can I maybe do something around the buys? Can I block them? Can I, try and make it more difficult for them? But the
Mhm.
second part is you identify your trade partners. If you're scoring 9 in wide receiver and you're scoring yourself a 6 in running back, and you find someone that's a 9 in running back and 6
Yeah,
in wide receiver, you've got a natural trade partner. And there's a great opportunity to say, look, you need a decent running back. I've got Donta Foreman, who has one of the best playoff schedules available,
mhm.
and he's putting up points. And I'm looking for a really stable wide receiver piece coming in. What can we do? What can we do to make this work? And
Yeah,
9 times out of 10, that's the best way to approach it because it doesn't look like you're fleecing someone. No one's sitting there getting offended of, oh, why did you want to do it? Why did you offer me Deonta Foreman for Allen Robinson? Which on
uh-huh.
paper looks ridiculous. But
Yeah,
actually, when you think about where both rosters are, could make a lot of sense. Both of them are players that are very short-term players in Dynasty. Both of them don't have really what you could call a long-term successful Dynasty
yeah,
future ahead of them. And Allen Robinson on paper looks the better player, but actually with that Rams offense with Cooper Cup out, Is he going to get that much more volume, or is it all going to go to Spen Goranek? Like,
Oh,
it could be a
yes.
case. That's what I mean. It could be that he's just a very average wide
Yeah.
receiver, which might be what you need because you're not starting Donta Foreman. But
Yeah.
actually, that team might need Donta Foreman in the flex. They might need them in their starting place. They might have got some buys to negotiate. They've still got maybe the Green Bay running backs.
I'm starting Donta Foreman in so many leagues. I'm
Oh
not
my
gonna
God.
lie.
Well, so I put on Twitter, and if you ever need a reason to follow me, is on Sundays I put out like players to add
Yeah.
before games,
Yeah.
more looking forward than anything else. And I said the week before Christian McCaffrey got traded, just add Donta Foreman. This trade hype for CMC
Yeah.
is everywhere. So
Yeah.
literally that weekend, I went through every league that he was available in. Christian McCaffrey was still a Panther at this point. I just added him. He
Yeah.
just sat on my bench. And then
Yeah.
the trade comes on, what was it, Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever the trade came through for Christian McCaffrey. And I was like, everyone's going to look, oh, well, where's Donta Foreman? Oh, he's already gone. Oh, great. And then it's
Yeah.
just staying ahead. And it's one of those magical scenarios that panned out. But what's the worst case scenario? Christian McCaffrey doesn't get traded and I drop him in 2 weeks.
Exactly.
You lose nothing. And like that's
Yeah.
how, if you can anticipate uncomfortable situations, you can get ahead, and you can do that with QBs and Superflex. Like you should have already added Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. We knew PJ Walker wasn't going to last. And if you took a hit on one of those guys, you might end up with a very low end, but potentially start a level position. And that's how you kind of stay ahead of the game. It's about being a little bit smart and in the know.
Yeah, absolutely. So I absolutely love that as a big. That was kind of one big massive tip. Lots of things inside it. So I absolutely love that. So let's see if we can pull up. Well, let's start with one of my teams here before we let's pull it up onto the stream and let's see who we got. This is a team where I think I'm a contender in this league. So let's have a little look at who we got in here. So we got. I mean, we talked about bye week. Well, sort of off the air, we were messaging each other, and you were like, "Well, it can't be too difficult to settle a lineup." So it'd be like. Step one, are you in a bye week? If we were doing like one of those, what they call flow diagrams,
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
are you in a bye week?
Trees.
No. It's like, do you have a pulse? Yes, start him. Like, it's just like, yeah. So we'll see what we got. We got Tua, who's on a bye. We got Aaron Jones and DeAndre Swift. They're not on a bye. That's nice. We got Jerry Jeudy, who's maybe injured. Jalen Waddle's on a bye, and Curtis Samuel, who's maybe injured. So okay. Will Dissly's on a bye. We got Brandon Ayuk in there. DeAndre Carter's maybe he's questionable as well. Christian McCaffrey's there, and Russell Wilson is there. And on our bench, we've got Matthew Stafford. We got Rex Burkhead is there. We got Alexander Madison, Dearness Johnson, Mark Ingram, Khalif Raymond, Zay Jones, T. Higgins, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Elijah Moore. And then the injured reserve. Look at that. Penny and Smith and Javonte. Yeah, that's a sore one. And then, I got Daniel Bellinger in the taxi squad. He might be ready to be pulled out of there. So this is not going to be pretty, I don't think. But let's see what we can do here. I think this is one of the leagues where I can afford to eat a loss, hopefully. So I might not be too upset. But let's see if we can address quarterback first. So I mean, I think we just have to hope that Matthew Stafford is healthy. Have you heard any news about Stafford?
Well, he was in the concussion protocol, which is why he didn't start. So I always feel that if a player's missed a game in the concussion protocol, it's very likely that he'll come back for the next game. It's very unusual. You'll see a player miss multiple games in the concussion protocol. So I haven't seen anything definitive, but at the same token, I think the fact that he was working his way through the protocol towards the end of last week anyway. Yeah. And it wasn't quite a game time decision, but it went all the way to Sunday. Says he's got to be pretty close. So I'd feel pretty confident that Matt Stafford starts this week. So I think you're fine. I mean, it's obviously a massive downgrade, but it's better than having nobody. So I think you definitely start Matthew Stafford. I think you'd be fine.
Yeah, who thought we'd be saying that this time last year, right? It's a massive downgrade on Tua, right? That was crazy. We'll put him in. At our running backs, we got Aaron Jones and DeAndre Swift. I'm not sure. We got Christian McCaffrey in the flex at the moment there, but I mean these guys here, Burkhead and Madison and Dearness Johnson and Mark Ingram, I don't think we really need to talk about them, Murph, do we?
No, I think you're set of running back. I think you're fine.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this is where I'm a bit worried. So, wide receiver, Jerry Jeudy. I'm surprised he's just listed as questionable because that looked pretty nasty last week. I don't think he's going to play.
No, I mean, look, I put players like this in my rankings just to
Mhm.
as a placeholder to action. But he's down at like wide receiver 90 on the week for me because I just don't believe he's actually going to play. So I put him in there to make sure that if something miraculous happens, so I don't think he plays at all. So I think you're going to need to make a change.
Yeah.
I
What
think
I'll,
you've got
what
a
I'll do?
couple of guys on your bench, so I think
Yeah.
you've got some options here.
Let's flick Brandon Ayuk up there, and let's flick DeAndre Carter up here into the wide receivers for now, will we? And then
Yeah,
we'll have a look and see if we can replace some of these guys who are in the flex. So that might be a bit easier for us because we can. I mean,
yeah.
we can use between my huge running back pool as well, right? With all those great talents. So let's do that, and we'll have a look at the tight end. And so this is something I don't like to do, but I think I'm going to maybe have to pull someone off my taxi squad here with Daniel Bellinger because I don't have any other tight ends to play. Murph, what do you think I should do?
Well, I think I would have a look at your waivers and just see if there's anyone else. I think Ballinger's a 50-50.
Yeah,
And I love Ballinger, by the way. I think he's
me too.
a top class talent. I think the fact you've got him in a draft, I think is a great place to be. And listen, at the end of the day, you've been playing Will Disley. So I imagine
Yeah,
you probably don't have much out there that you can play.
no,
And because, people like McBride will already be owned. Yeah, I'm looking at who's there.
yeah,
A Hendershot's not
not
going to get
much.
anything. Bates isn't going to get anything. Yeah, I mean,
I wonder
I'd
what
almost be.
about this guy here?
Yeah, I think you add him if you can,
Yeah,
because we know that Philly likes to target the tight ends. We have
yeah,
absolutely no frame of reference on what this guy's gonna do. We have very little to go on. You're looking at the snaps here. One reception this year, I think, and he's got two. Oh, there you go. He's
oh,
got two receptions this season. Oh, he might have a bit more towards the end. Maybe he's up to like 5 or 10. Let's see, three,
okay,
4. He's got 4 receptions on the year.
yeah,
Um, I would add him.
yeah, I
I
think
wouldn't
so.
spend any fab on him, but I would
No,
I would add him as a free fab.
no, we got to
And then
drop. Murph, right?
yeah, see, I
Are we
I think
getting rid
because
of
you've
old Rex?
do you know what? I think because of the fact you've got Bellinger coming back, and even if he doesn't play this week, he's likely to play next week. I'd probably drop Disley. Because
Okay,
when Bellinger's
yeah,
back, are you going to play Disley?
probably not, right?
He's behind Noah Fant. He
Yeah,
might get the odd target, but he's not. I can't imagine him doing a lot more than what Stroll's going to do. So I
no,
would,
you're right.
yeah, I'd be quite tempted just to drop Will Disley, because
Let's do it, Murph.
You've also got Kate Otten as well on your taxi squad.
Who's sadly on a bye this week, yeah. So I
Yeah,
can't put him in, but yeah, for the future, definitely Ked Dalton will be a
yeah.
good in there, good person to put in there. So let's put in the waiver bid. Let's drop down Disley out of there, and let's get hopefully Jack Stall in there. Hopefully, no one's realized that he's still on the waiver wire there because I didn't see too much else there worth.
No,
No.
the only one potentially Brock Wright for
Mm-hmm.
uh, for Detroit could make the
Yeah.
same move as a backup move, but again, you know, you play very similar to me. The tight end position is just something that you have to just sort of put somebody in and
Yeah.
deal with the consequences
Yeah.
later.
Unless I'm getting one of those top, like unless I'm getting Kelsey or Andrews, I'm happy just to leave it for a little while.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking at where
Okay,
I
so
put Jack Stroll in my rankings this week. I don't even
hmm,
know. So I put Jack Stroll at. So it's funny. I've got him and Jack and Brock Wright next to each other this week. So
okay,
I've got Jack Stroll at 24, and I've got Brock Smith at 25.
okay, okay. That's not
So
too bad.
I,
I
you
can deal
know,
with that. They got a couple of catches. I'm happy there. I think.
yeah, I think that's it. If you can get, even like a 3 for 36 stat line, and you get your
Take it.
6.6 points, that's about what Disley would get. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Perfect. Right. So let's hope he comes through for us so we can start him. And now let's have a look at some of these troublesome positions here. It's really these two here with Jerry Judy, who's probably going to miss time, and Jalen Waddle. Unless I'm not sure. I'm not really sure on the health status of Curtis Samuel or DeAndre Carter. I have not heard anything too serious about them.
No,
Hopefully that
they're
questionable's
both.
okay.
I think they're both going to be okay. We
Yeah.
monitor the practices today and tomorrow, but I feel pretty confident. So Carter I have at wide receiver 45 on the week. Curtis Samuel I have at wide receiver 24 on the week. So, I feel pretty confident that both those guys are, well, I mean, Samuel's in the must start conversation, Carter in the flex
Yeah.
conversation, but given all the buys, it's almost effectively a must start.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel pretty good that both of those guys would go. Judy, on the other hand, I don't. I think Judy needs
No.
to come out of the lineup, and obviously Waddle you can't play. So,
Yeah. Absolutely.
so
So let's see who we can put in then. So uh people standing out. I mean Khalif Raymond there has done, okay at the Lions, but now of course Amon St. Brown's kind of back and healthy, which won't really help him. Madison is okay, but I mean, obviously one guy standing out there more than the others is T.
yeah,
Higgins. We've got to play T. Higgins, right?
yeah, absolutely. T Higgins has to go in. So I've got T Higgins all the way up at wide receiver 8 this week. So he's an
Nice.
absolute smash. He's sandwiched between Amon St. Brown and Chris Olave. So an absolute smash start this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully he can step up now that Chase has been gone. Hopefully he can step up into that number one receiver. And Waddle obviously can't play. So for me, you might have seen some others, Murph, but for me, I'm kind of stuck between, I mean, two people here, I suppose.
Okay.
Callie Freeman, one of them. The other would actually be someone who's been impressing me lately. It's Donovan Peoples Jones.
Right.
He's been looking pretty good, right?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Donovan Peoples Jones. I think he's got a lot of talent. He's been playing really well the last few weeks. I actually have him this week all the way up at wide receiver 32.
Okay.
So I think it's a great matchup against Buffalo. They're going to be chasing points. They can't afford to just continue to
Yeah.
run the ball.
Yeah.
The one thing that concerns me, and I saw it today, is there's potential for that game to have 6 feet of
Yeah.
snow.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Which if that happens, that would cause me to pivot. But it is Thursday. Weather systems change.
Yeah.
And we need to see Matt Thornton's weather report to really be truly certain
Absolutely. Yeah.
before we make any determinations. But yes,
I don't
right
believe
now,
anything I see in the Met office. I only check, Matt's Twitter page. Yeah,
uh,
that's the main weather I get.
yeah, 100%. So I would be really inclined. So Khalif Raymond, I have all the way down at 56.
Okay.
As you say, you've got Amon St. Brown, you've got other targets, you've got the targets in the running game. I just don't see Khalif Raymond putting up that potential high ceiling. What I would say is if it is 6 feet of snow, we know that both teams are going to run the ball. It's going to be very low
Yeah.
scoring. I would then pivot that. So then I would
Yeah.
move Donovan Peoples-Jones right down because if he's getting receptions, it's going to be those small screen passes. It's going to be
Yeah.
very low yardage, but they might not even throw the ball
Yeah.
more than 20 times. And if that happens, then it's going to be difficult. So right now, if on Thursday, it's
Yeah.
Donovan Peoples-Jones, but I'll be keeping an eye on the weather.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think pretty much, right? That brings us to the end of our team here. Later on, I'll pull Daniel Bellinger off the taxi squad if I see that he's definitely cleared for action. We'll pull him off here. So I mean, let's have a little look. And actually, you know what? It's not ended up as bad as I thought it was going to, Murph. I got to be honest. Let's have a little look. We've got Matthew Stafford in a quarterback. We've got Aaron Jones and DeAndre Swift feeling pretty good about that at running back. Brandon Ayuk, DeAndre Carter, and Curtis Samuel hopefully all be fit to play at wide receiver. Will Disley's there for now, but we're gonna take him out and put in either our guy from the Eagles or Daniel Bellinger if he's playing. Then we got T Higgins, Donovan Peoples Jones, Christian McCaffrey, and then Russell Wilson. That's not too bad actually, right?
No, it's not too bad. I think you've got guys out there that will put up. What you've got there is a lot of solid contributors. You
Yeah.
don't have that many high ceiling players. I mean, McCaffrey,
Mhm.
Higgins would be the exception. But you got a lot of solid guys. You know what they're going to put up. You can put your projection isn't probably going to be a million miles away from what you actually
Yeah.
score. Um, and I think at this point of the season, that's not a bad place to be. So many
Mhm.
people will shoot for the moon, and I'm all for shooting for the moon. But actually, sometimes just that bit of stability of where you were at and knowing what you're going to get, it just makes it a little bit easier to manage. And you could be playing a team that has a high variance team, guys who could absolutely take off, but guys who could absolutely get zeros. There's not many
Yeah.
guys on your team other than Donovan Peoples-Jones in the snow right now, where I'd look at them and go, they're going to put up a 3.4 point or less game for you. So I think
maybe my quarterbacks, but apart from that, yeah.
Well, if Russell Wilson can't do it against Las Vegas, then they should probably phone it in.
Yeah, I think you're right there. So yeah, I'm hoping to continue a good streak. And I think I'm doing okay in that league. So hopefully that'll continue, and maybe only a win or two away from locking myself guaranteed in the playoffs there. So that'll be great. So thanks for your help on that one, mate. Hopefully I'll let you know if I get a tight end that'll start at Jack Stroll. That's his name, yeah. So I'll pull that away there. And Murph, you've got a team for us to have a little look at as well, yeah?
I do. So this team is surprisingly doing a lot better than it should, because it's a team that so it's a 5-yard dynasty league. I finished not brilliantly in this league last year. I started the season with only Jacoby Brissett as my QB. Sorry, Deshaun Watson as my QB. So obviously I've had him on my roster from the beginning. So I've endured the ban and I've endured everything else. So now I've got to endure this. Now, this is one of those leagues I did pick up Donta Foreman. So that's part of the reason. So this is a close matchup against the guys at the Franchise Tag Pod. So I'm 7-3, which is well above expectation. Because if I show you the actual league itself and I look at points, I'm absolutely nowhere near it in points. Like, 1286. Actually, I might be actually top. No, there we go. I'm actually not doing as badly. I looked at this earlier and thought I was doing a lot better. All right, so I'm second in points. That's also bizarre. This is a classic example of a team that doesn't have any real dudes and just has a load of just solid guys. So QB is Marcus Mariota.
I mean, yeah, that is like point one of like what you said. It's like, here's exhibit A of like, but yeah, Mariota's getting points this year, right?
He's been desirably average, which is fine. My stud running back Austin Eckler, continues to just truck on and carry me through. Donta Foreman, who's just been piling on wins for me. And obviously I've got JJ. So JJ helps massively. Gabe Davis, it's been a bit up and down, more down than up, but hey, sometimes it does turn up. And then we've got Mike Gesicki on a bye. I mean, again, I'm like you with the tight end position. I got CD, so again, another stud wide receiver who's
starting to build up as well. CD Lamb, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then I've got these sort of scat backs who are getting more work than they should in Jamal Williams and Gus Edwards. Kicker one, Nick Folk, and the Dallas DST. So nice. But I do have some options here. So there is obviously we've got some question marks here with Williams and Edwards. JJ, but I think he's fine. And then we got Donta Foreman's got a bad matchup against the Ravens. What do we do? So I do have some guys on my bench, and I've got. And
you've got Davis in the snow potentially as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. So there is some conversations to have. So the first one at QB, which I have every week, is do I take Brissett or do I take Mariota? I take Mariota for the rushing, but I still have to have that conversation depending on matchup. But I do have Deshaun coming back, waiting in the wings. Nice. Obviously, CEH has dropped off a cliff.
That was absolutely bizarre last week. So obviously, I'm a Chiefs fan, and got into like the third quarter, and I was just like, hold on, like where's Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Like, I haven't seen him at all. He just went gone. Yeah. I don't know if he was injured and not on a report or something, but that was very strange just to see him disappear.
Yeah, it was really strange to see him disappear, and we know that they've been trending him out and working on Pacheco, but for him to just drop off like that was bizarre. I wonder, and then also to not have a tag this week. So if there was like a questionable tag, I'd sit there and go, okay, he took some form of bang So it could be that it was as simple as he didn't do what a coach asked him to do. He didn't block where he should have done, or
Yeah.
we don't actually know. But there's obviously something around CEH this season. And he
Mm.
talked a big game at the start of the season. This is the first off season I've been healthy. This is the
Yeah.
first time coming into a season I'm truly healthy. I'm going to show everyone why I'm a first round draft pick. He made
Yeah.
really a lot of big statements on that Yahoo podcast.
Yeah.
And he started well. Those first 3-4 weeks went well, but actually, he's getting beaten out by a 7th-round draft pick in Pacheco. You've got McKinnon, who's had 2 career-threatening injuries, who is getting work over him now. And it's, I'm thinking this is the beginning of the end of the CEH showing in Kansas City. And maybe he goes somewhere else and maybe he can resurrect. We don't
Yeah.
know, but it's a tough spot for CEH owners. And I don't think you can start him right now.
No, I was about to say it's almost impossible to start now, right?
Yeah, he shouldn't be anywhere near. Like, I think I've got
No.
CEH down in. Let's see where I've got him ranked this week. I mean, he might only be higher purely on the amount of injuries that we have.
Yeah. Because there's
So
only this many running backs left in the league.
exactly that. So wherever his number is, it's slightly inflated.
Hmm.
45. I have him
Yeah.
in a Kyron Williams and Chuba Hubbard sandwich. Like, he's sandwiched between those 2 players. Like, the names after him. Yeah, it's bad, right? James Cook, Alexander Mattison, Cam Akers, Chase Edmonds. I have Jalen Warren ahead of him. I have Jake McKinnon ahead of him. I have Latavius Murray ahead of him.
Wow.
So that's kind of where I've got him now. So it's tough sledding. And then I've got another guy here in Tyler Algier, who he had 100 yards rushing 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Last week wasn't great, and you got CPAP back. What does that mean? There's that quandary of how much volume is Algier going to get. We've talked about Jerry Jeudy already. But then I've got these wide receivers. I've got Duvernay, and then I've got Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks, how healthy is he? Duvernay's the wide receiver 1 on his team. It's Carolina. You'd expect them to open the taps a bit. So I've got a few questions here that I need some help with.
Okay, let's go through it then. Let's see who can start. I think to start with the quarterback. I'd be happy with Mariota starting there over Brissett. I think. Are you thinking the same?
Yeah. I think I've got Mariota in. He's picked up points for me this season. I think what I like about Mariota is a safe floor. I can rely on my studs like Eckler and JJ and Lamb to get me the points, and I just can't afford to lose it with a Brissett who has the likelihood to only put up like 6 points this week.
Yeah, absolutely. So who are the players there, Murph, that you're thinking, right, I need to replace them, get them out the team?
Well, so let's start with tight end. Okay, so I'm like you. I don't actually have a tight end on the roster other than Jelani Woods. So I'm not going to bring Jelani Woods into the conversation. So I have actually already put a waiver claim in, and if someone's watching this, they might snipe me for Foster Moreau. So Foster Moreau is out there. So that's helpful. So I already have a claim out for Foster Moreau. But if I look at other players that are out there, Mo Alley Cox, Jonnu Smith, Hooper,
the same kind of guys, right?
Yeah. So pretty much the same sort of guy. So Foster Moreau sort of jumps out as the guy to own here.
Yeah.
And I have him at tight end 13 on the week. So
nice.
So it's not a bad spot. And I'm a bit lower on consensus than him. I think the consensus is 11 on him. So, I feel like that would solve the problem. And then if not, I'm going to need to scratch my head at who comes in after that. And to be honest, you're looking at probably Hooper. That doesn't excite. But against Green Bay on Thursday Night Football. I can't claim Hooper because it's already Thursday.
It's too late.
It's too late, so I can't even get Hooper. So
it might be throwing out a trade offer for some like a Hayden Hurst or something, right? Just to get him on, like pay whatever you can for him and get him on the team, right?
Yeah, or look at Harrison Bryant or Jack Straw. and go that way. So
Yeah.
let's see what happens. I've got the claim out for Moreau, so we'll see. That seems to be like
Hopefully that runs through. Yeah.
the most obvious play. But then where I'm really stuck is this quandary of the running backs in. I don't love having running backs in my flex unless they're studs, and
Yeah.
especially when you've got guys like Jamal Williams and Gus Edwards who are both questionable as well. So that's never great. Both in game scripts that, well, Gus Edwards' game script looks a bit better than Jamal Williams's. And he has the potential to potentially be that lead back. So it's really those two, Jamal Williams, Gus Edwards, and then do I bring Duvernay or Burks in, or do I take one out and put a right receiver in and maybe look to mitigate my risk? It's half-point PPR.
Yeah. Half-point PPR. Okay.
Half-point PPR.
I suppose, well, Williams and Edwards aren't getting too much receiving work, so that's kind of, not really running in their favor. I mean, Williams is scoring a touchdown like nearly every game, right? He got 10 rushing touchdowns and played 10 games.
Yeah.
Like, has he scored a touchdown like on average every game? So I think he would be someone I would trust over Edwards, I think, because they just seem to use him at the goal line.
He's got
a lot.
9 touchdowns and 9 and 9.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty solid. If you're playing a running back, you're probably going to want a touchdown out of him. Jamal Williams seems to be the safer bet, although I don't know who the Lions playing this week.
They got the Giants.
Okay. And then
which strength of schedule wise, is not is a pretty good matchup for running backs. The Giants are one of the worst teams in terms of against fantasy points conceded. But then the Lions are worse. But yeah,
that's true.
But yeah, it's a good matchup for Williams. But we know with Swift, it's a 50-50 workload. So it'd be interesting to see. It's a tough call. I think if it was PPR, this would make this conversation probably a little bit tougher. And then there's Gus Edwards, who hasn't been healthy for most of the season.
Yeah. And the Ravens, who are the Ravens up against again?
So they got Carolina at home.
Okay. Yeah. So that's a pretty good matchup as well. Weirdly enough, it's usually the running backs are the riskier player, but here I think oddly your receivers are kind of a riskier player than your running backs. I feel like Treylon Burks is heating up slightly. Like I'm hearing his name kind of a bit more when I'm watching Red Zone or watching whatever, like sort of hearing the name Treylon Burks a bit more last week, certainly. Anyway, he's been injured, has he? So that'll be why. But yeah, I don't know if I would fully trust him to start a game yet, though.
No, and he's got Green Bay, so it's not even like that's an attractive matchup. I mean, like Green Bay aren't giving up a lot of points. They're not giving up. The first thing that's noticeable is 0 touchdowns for Treylon Burks in the NFL so far.
Wow.
Granted, it's 5 games. It's a small sample.
Yeah.
The second part is he's never had more than 6 targets in a game. He's never had more than 4 receptions in a game. He's broken 50 yards once. So in a half-point PPR league, you're looking at him thinking he's what? A stat line for him would be something like 3 for 30, 3 for 40. Which in a half-point PPR, you're looking at, okay, if he's 3 for 40, let's say that's like as good as it gets. That's 5.5 points.
Yeah, it's nothing.
So it's a hard one, whether it's like Jamal Williams could have 1 carry for 1 yard but score, which he won't do. But I think, again, you made the point on Williams of, well, Williams is going to carry the ball at the goal line. So he's more likely to get you that 6, which will help see you over the top. So yeah, I think I'm definitely out on Burks, especially if it being Thursday night football. I don't want to try and make up those points on Sunday. No. So, but the interesting one here is Duvernay. So
he's
Duvernay has
quietly been good, right?
Quietly good. I mean, his last game before the bye was not great. 1 reception for 5 yards, but he's been pretty consistently, again, similar to Burks. He's been pretty consistent with these sort of 50-40 point games, but slightly over those. The one thing that I'm struggling with is that since Bateman's been injured, His yards per target have pretty much fallen down
Yeah.
quite significantly. So he's playing in a bit of a deeper role. And I think he needs somebody out there and Demarcus Robinson, isn't it, who's going to help
No.
him get open. And I think part of Duvernay, he'll have better games, but we're looking here 4 games in a row without 50 yards. We're looking again, very similar sort of stat line for Duvernay as we were for Burks. He might see maybe one more catch, but if it's like a 4 for 50, he's still only looking at 7 points. Do we think Duvernay's 7-ish points is likely to be better than what Gus Edwards could potentially do? And the decision might be taken out of my hands if Gus Edwards can't go.
Yeah.
But he was practicing. So he has been practicing for 2 days in a row now. So it looks like he could go. So it's a tough one because he's barely played all season, Gus Edwards.
Yeah. I think I would still lean towards Williams and Edwards, to be honest. I think they maybe have not a safer floor, but I think they almost have the same floor, but Edwards and Williams have got a much higher ceiling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I'm tending to go as well. We could look at the wire, and I haven't actually checked the wire for this position. So, yeah, other than Moreau, I'm not dropping down to Marcus Robinson. Cage. Oh, God, this is really bad. I didn't realize how bad this wire was. Sammy Watkins.
Wow. I mean, this is what we were saying at the start, right?
Yeah.
You can't pick up Sammy. Sammy Watkins will get injured if you pick him up, so we can't touch him, right?
Wow, and he's playing tonight, as is Randall Cobb. So, Richie James Prochet. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, my fellow, he's out there.
Oh, wow. I mean, that is, can he do it again, Murph? That is the big question, right?
Do you know what? We're going to add him just because I can't imagine I have someone on my bench who's better. I don't need 2 DSTs this time of year. The charges aren't good anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
And I've got loads of fab. Just drop $2 on Nick Westbrook-Ikhine.
Now, I do that as well. That's my most common bid because so many people offer $1. I always go 2 just to get
especially
that
if
extra.
I've got the dollars.
Yeah, you may as well spend them, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm totally with you. I don't think I'm going to burn. I don't think I'm going to burn those. So, yeah. My guy, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, didn't even know he was out there. So there we go. We talked about this. I feel like it's fitting.
Yeah, I think so. So let's, I think that's the team locked up then, Murph. Is it? Do you want to run us through it again one more time then?
Yeah. So Marcus Mariota at QB. Go Oregon. We've got Austin Eckler and the man himself, waiver wire god, Donta Foreman. Gabe Davis potentially in the snow. Wide receiver 1, Justin Jefferson. The tight end situation will hopefully resolve itself, but at the moment it's Mike Gesicki, but we're hoping for Foster Moreau. Jamal Williams, Gus Edwards, CeeDee Lamb, Nick Folk, and the Dallas Cowboys DST.
Absolutely brilliant. So we're hoping for a win for your team there, Murph, and hopefully a win for my team as well. But you're looking pretty good there. Hopefully you'll get there in the end. And
well, I've got to face Henry, Sanders, Adams, Kittle, Harris, our guy Ben Skoranek.
Oh, you're doomed. Right.
Doomed. Ben Skoranek is going to catch me.
Yeah, you need to get Westbrook-Ikhine in that team to counter Ben Skoranek, right?
100%. That's going to happen now.
But Murph, that's the end of the show. I just wanted to say thanks again for coming back on the hot seat. It's a pleasure to have you back on. Do you just want to remind everyone where they can find you online before you head off?
Yeah, sure. So you can catch me online at Murph_NFL. You can listen to the pod 5 Yard Rush. I'm on there Mondays. Waiver wires drop Monday, Tuesday, and then Thursday, Friday will be Friday. So tomorrow I'll be dropping the matchups pod where I go through every fantasy relevant player. So if you want to know everything you want to know about Ben Skoranek, I'll be talking about him tomorrow and all other great NFL players of his caliber. So we'll be going through all those tomorrow about making sure where we are with the rankings. I talk through my rankings exclusively. You can find my rankings, by the way, and I talk through some of the numbers on here. At 5rush.co.uk, there's a tab at the top that says Murph's rankings. I've got a rest of season's rankings. I've got a weekly rankings. Whenever I make an edit, it automatically goes live. So I make some edits on Sunday all the way up to the games. So just tune in there. There's so much better than start-sit questions because you can change the scoring as well. So rather than sending me, would I start this player over this player, the rankings will tend to answer about 95% of those questions.
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely amazing. So guys, make sure you're checking out all of the amazing stuff Murph and all the guys over at the 5-Yard Rush team do. Actually, brilliant show, brilliant team. So Murph, thank you so much, and thanks everyone again for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed the show, and good luck in your weekly matchups this week. And remember, keep yourselves and your teams lit. And we'll see you next time.